Hey everybody, welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored, and today at the table, I am not taking a look at a board game. Instead, I thought I would do something different. I don't know if this is going to be a new segue into a different hobby for me, but I'm going to talk about miniature painting. And if you've seen some of my community posts, I got into it. I just, there's a little bit of a story behind it, but I decided that I would maybe create a video for new beginners who don't have any previous experience in art, paint, coordination, color coordination. So I thought I would just go through some of the things that, for me as a beginner, what my I guess my journey to where I am right now. I am I'm gonna just flat out say I am not an expert miniature painter, and this video is not meant as a guide or insight or technique for experienced, even moderate to advanced miniature painters. This is for, I'll tell you who this is for. This is for, and I'll tell you who I am. My clothing is all monochromatic. I'm not a colorful kind of guy. I don't necessarily have the greatest um, interior decorating eye, if you want to call it that. Can't coordinate to save my life. I certainly can't color coordinate to save my life. And for the most part, I've never actually. I mean, in grade school, yeah, I did art. I traced Odie. Is his name Odie? Garfield's buddy, Odie, onto a piece of paper. That was the best I could do, and then I did some kind of water painting on him. To that is the extent. And then at some point, I tried to draw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It didn't turn out very well. They kind of look like, I don't know, sloths, a cross between a sloth and a turtle, maybe. So I'm definitely not an artistic person by any means. Any means, I gotta tell you that. So that's what this is for. This is for, you're kind of like me. You've got all these cool board games, or not cool board games. They've got miniatures, and you enjoy playing the game for the game. You enjoy the mechanics, whatever IP or no IP or whatever theme that you love. It just brings you that joy on the table. And at some point, you feel like, hey, it'd be a little bit more interesting if there was a little bit of color just to pop to the table a little bit more. I mean, after all, they're miniatures for a reason. They're sitting right in front of you asking to be painted. They don't want to be sitting in their stale gray, blue, pink resin for the rest of their lives. And they're begging you to just add a little bit of color. And that's what this really is. This all came because of Halo Flashpoint, actually. At the time of this filming, I got Halo Flashpoint a few months ago. And I have I've either, I haven't even determined at what point did I come to the realization that I wanted to get into miniature painting, but it's really because of this right here. So because of this, I needed Master Chief. I just had to. I really enjoyed Halo Flashpoint. This is a quick, if you haven't seen my video on it, yeah, it's been posted. You can, sort of see my overview and thoughts on that gameplay. But I needed him, and the only way I could get him, and I didn't do the pre-order for Halo Flashpoint because if you watch my video, I kind of was sort of, getting a feel for the game. It's a skirmish game, I talk a bit about that. At the end of the day, my local game store had this on a little bit of a sale. I wouldn't say it was significant, and so I decided to get it. I wasn't too concerned about the paints at the time. I was more about concerned about getting the chief. And then I started to look at, oh, you know what? I looked online. I saw people who had painted up the Spartans and the Covenant, and and the game board itself pops, the 3D terrain pops, and I've got these blue and plastic characters just running around the field, and I just felt like I felt compelled that I was doing a disservice to Halo Flashpoint by not having them painted. But so I got this. And so then I at least had a basic set of colors that I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe that's enough. Maybe this is enough for me to just sort of get into it. As you can see, it's not, but that's how it started. And I said, okay, but I'm kind of I'm not going to say I'm a perfectionist, but I am kind of anal retentive about certain things, and I feel like I could really do a lot of damage and screw things up in terms of poor color, poor painting, poor execution, to the point where, oh gosh, I'd rather just have them stuck in their resin world and never paint them. So I decided to take a dive. I did a little bit of research. I wouldn't say it was very comprehensive, but it was very overwhelming. All the videos out there I even feel for beginner videos, they're coming from people who are, I feel like they've got an artistic eye. But it was very overwhelming in terms of one, all the different techniques out there, um, all the different ways you can do the painting and the, I guess, tools that you need. So what's on the table right now is sort of I don't got much of an art background starter kit. And I don't think these are all essential, but some of these are I think for me really helped me because they each of these pieces here play I guess an important part to my style. And I'm gonna go through each one of them, and then I'll probably post another vid in terms of the actual things that I learned through this process. But again, this video is for the really novice beginner with no painting background, and you're kind of thinking, okay, first, how much do you want to invest in this? How far do you want to take it? And how much are you willing to learn from this process? Because you're definitely not gonna, you're not gonna paint perfect the first time, and it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of steady hands, which I don't have. So I'm gonna go through some of the things that I have here, which I feel when I was doing based on my research, I thought, okay, there's this I need for sure, this I need for sure, this I need for sure. Okay, so let's start off with the most key piece, paint. So obviously I have the 8 paints that were here, and for the most part I thought, well, these are all primary colors except for a wash, and I wasn't even sure, a wash and there's a metallic which I get. There's no primer in this kit, unfortunately, and I wish that this included at least a primer so I can try it. So I ended up going and buying a larger bottle of this primer, the Vallejo primer. I don't even know if this is the right kind. I just looked for primer, and I wanted a gray. I also got a black. I'll get to that in a minute. For me, when I was looking at it, people were saying, you use a primer based on what you think, oh, I don't know if this is right, but what you think the majority of your miniature is going to be painted in. For me, I wasn't about to have like 20 different colors of primer. So I thought gray is neutral for me. I don't want to do completely white, don't want completely black. Gray was sort of that middle ground. And I've been happy with it. And I bought a larger bottle because I feel like with priming, you're going to use a lot more than your color set because, I mean, you're going to cover the whole miniature as opposed to parts of the miniature with color. So it's unfortunate that this didn't have one. I know that Army Painter had a starter set, which it did include a primer, but I didn't want duplicates of colors. I didn't want an 11 starter kit from Army Painter, which gave me maybe 2 extra colors and a primer, but then all the other colors I already have here. That seemed to be a waste. So this was my starting point. Did I start painting with this? No, because I needed the primer. Did I start doing that after? No, because all of a sudden I thought, hey, I need more. Because I did try with this set, and I realized that for me to have the variations in shading, like different color tones, um, yeah, you can mix them. You've got the primary colors here, plus white and black, so you can definitely get the different gradients, but trying to achieve consistency would be very difficult. So then I thought, okay, you know what? I feel like I want to be a bit more committed, so I went into this Fanatic paint set. Now, as I understand it, there's also something called speed painting, and I am not an expert. Again, I'm not an expert on any of these paints. I'm just telling you based on my experience and based as a novice painter who has no background, I just wanted at least a variation or a variety of colors that I feel that would represent the board games that I have. And I don't need every single color, but I definitely need a few key ones. And one of the key ones that I'm missing from here, and it's fine for Halo, but one of the key things I'm missing from here that would impact some of my board games is a flesh tone, a flesh color. And for the life of me, I don't even know what kind of color combination or mixture I would have to achieve based on these 8 that would give me that fleshy looking tone. So I settled on this Fnatic Mega Paint set. Now, I think Fnatic is a relatively new line for Army Painter, and then they have a speed paint line. I'm not going to talk about speed painting. I don't think it's in. I think it's beyond my level of capability. I think it offers um, the ability for, I guess, seasoned painters to really expedite that process. Because I guess if you use regular non-speed paint, it's a bit more involved process and it takes a little bit longer. So you just want to kind of get your miniatures quickly to the board. I settled for the 50. I think there was like a 75 and then 120 set as well, because it covered the range of the gamut of colors that I wanted. And it included two flesh tones that I thought, or three skin tones that I thought it would be good. And then a few extra metallic paints. So from my perspective, base colors important. At least one skin tone if you have miniatures that have skin, and then at least a few metallics. So this for me worked. This was the middle ground, because I could have easily bought a specific color set and then a specific paint metallic set, and then that was too much. I just wanted sort of I'm going to call it all in one. This one does come with a free paint station, and that was not the reason why I got it. I didn't actually recognize this until after I got it. I was like, hey, it comes with a free paint station. I don't have that kind of workspace. Actually, this is my dining table. And I don't have a dedicated space where I can just leave my paints out. So I do have to pack it up every time and bring it out. The way that it's organized in here, it's just all dumped into a sort of a plastic inner mold. They're not lined up anything fancy. So that's where this case comes in. I'll get to that in a minute. It's got a couple of the washes as well. There's washes that are important as well that I've discovered, and is probably for me the most important. I feel like is the wash. So I got this set, and it doesn't mean that you should get this set, but it gave me all the colors that I wanted without having to do a complex and comprehensive mixing process with this guy. So that's what I had, and then I thought right away that if I crack this puppy open, where am I going to put all the paint? So I decided, because again, your circumstances may be different. You may have a dedicated game room, a dedicated space where you can just leave it out. Maybe you don't have kids and you don't have to worry about them opening up and squeezing it on your walls. But I do. So I have that problem. I don't have a dedicated space. I don't have a secure location where my kids aren't going to start tampering with these and opening the caps and pouring it onto the carpet. I already hate Play-Doh, so you can imagine how nuts I would go if it was paint. So I decided to get, this is it's not actually a miniature paint case. It's actually for essential oils. And this one holds up to, I believe it was 70 something. So I have the initial set that I got from Halo Flashpoint. You can see I have an empty spot. And then I've got all the colors lined up here. And they each have their own, I think you can see it, they dedicated cutout. So it's a foam inset. And they all sit nicely. The depth is about 3 and 3.5 inch. I not measured it, but I guesstimated what I would need. So it does cover. There's a little holder here for, like, I don't know, paper or whatever. I have the quick start guide, but I don't put anything in there because once you close it, you wouldn't be able to keep it closed. So this is what I use. Not as like, it's not like I'm carrying it around, but it's for easy storage. I can tuck this under my bed. I can, and then I can quickly grab it out without having to open a box and fiddle through. And I think another important piece is that it's upright. I don't think, and somebody can comment below, I don't think I want my paints lying on its side stored, because I have a feeling it's going to gunk up at the tip. Each of these, I guess this Army Painter, they each have a metal ball. I don't know if you can hear this one. Can you hear this one? No, not that one. Some of them are a little jammed. There we go. So they've got a little metal ball inside, and that helps with the mixing, and I think that's kind of neat. So yeah, actually, you know what? I need this one out here. This one I'm going to talk about later. And so that's how I have it sort of organized. Again, this is not essential, but if you're like me and you don't have a dedicated storage space or dedicated table where you can just leave it out, then this has actually been very, very helpful for me to quickly pull out my paints and open it on the small surface space that I have and start painting away. So we'll go with that. So that ends the painting part. And then for the primer, as I mentioned, I got this Vallejo primer, Ghost Gray. Now, I actually don't know if this is the right type, but it works. For me, it works for me. I actually think I may have gotten the wrong type, but there's nothing here that tells me that I can't use it. But it does say here that it says, where does it say right here? Oh. It says apply in light coats with an airbrush. Like a spray brush, I guess. That's what they call it. I don't have one, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I took a chance, I bought it, and it seems to be fine. And I decided to also get a black version as well, and that was more because I know that when I get to my Halo figures, primarily I will be probably giving a more darker coat and darker paint on them. So I thought, rather than trying to overcome the lighter gray, since the miniature is going to be mostly black and dark colors, that I would just use a black primer. That's the only reason. But to the point of this filming, I actually haven't started my Halo miniatures yet. I'll talk about that in a second. So I've got that. And then let's move over to the paint set, paintbrushes. Now, I don't know anything about paintbrushes. You can definitely spend the money if you want to get Army Painter paintbrushes. I find them very expensive, but I'm sure they're good quality. I'm not knocking it. This one came with a free. But in terms of the types, I'm just going to go through the types. The one I bought was a very cheap off Amazon. I think it was a 12 or 15 piece set, and I bought a case that could hold it in. That you can sort of like a little portfolio, again, because it's not like I have a table space where I can just leave them out in the open. Obviously, I would let them dry first. You can see a lot of them haven't even been taken out yet because I haven't actually been using them. And that leads me to my point, which is, for the most part, when I'm doing the priming, I'll use a sort of a flat brush, and I think that's what people mostly recommend. They say get an old brush, it doesn't really matter. You're just priming it, so it doesn't really, you're not looking for intricate detailing. You just want to coat it. That's all you want to do. And then I have these ones here. So I have a thicker, and I don't know the sizing here, but this one says 0. I don't know what that means. This one says 1. And it's a round tip. I don't know. I just picked one that worked for me. So, don't take this as a hard, fast rule that these are the ones you need. These are the ones that help me. So I found that these larger ones help me with larger areas of painting that I want to quickly cover. It could be like a shield piece or the ground, or maybe the legs or body, something with a bit more. And then, so those are the ones I would use for that. And then I would have 2 of the finer brushes of slightly different sizes that would help with some of the detailing and not the highlighting, the detailing of edges, maybe a belt buckle, something that the larger brush head would not be as great for. And then I had this one, which I tried because I read about it. This was the brush for dry brushing. Kind of looks like a cosmetic brush, actually. And I chose a small one because I don't think I need to use, I don't know in what situation I would use this guy. I think this is more for my wife to have so that she can apply her makeup. But for this one, this was good enough for me. And I attempted the technique of dry brushing, which for me was neither here or there. I wouldn't say that it added anything significant, but it didn't ruin anything. So I started off with trying some dry brushing. And dry brushing is basically where you put a little bit of paint on and you try to wipe off as much as you can on a paper towel or something like that. So there's just a little bit left. And then you're just gracefully brushing the top of the miniature to highlight some of the protruding parts of it. But honestly, I don't do this much anymore. So that's why it's actually sitting here doing nothing. And then you'll see I've got this little sort of paint, I guess, water station. I don't know what you call it. So it can hold your brushes, a few of them. I don't typically lay the brushes on here. And then I would fill one side with water. You'll see that there are some grooves here just to help you when you're moving between paints. You can just quickly brush it off, wipe it off in the water, and then dry it off on a paper towel. There is a lid here this is the lid that goes on top. And this is my palette. And you'll see that it's actually right now inside a sandwich bag. There is a reason for that. There was this thing about wet palette and dry palette. I don't understand why you would do one over the other. I started off doing dry palette, and I found that I was very slow because it was the beginning. And obviously, when you have it exposed, the paint exposed, it starts to dry. And some of the moisture in the paint, I'm assuming there's a little bit of water in there, it's not just acrylic based, that some of the water starts to dry up and then the paint gets a little bit thick. And then you might have to, I don't know, add a little bit of water to it or whatever, but then you end up diluting it. So then I looked up, oh, maybe I need to have a wet palette. And I'm looking at, well, do I really need a wet, go out and spend $30 or whatever on a wet palette with this sponge thing and this something that goes on top? So then I saw a lot of people, these sort of DIY hacks, if you want to call it. I just take a paper towel, I put some water on it, and then I have parchment paper or wax paper, and I have it on top. And then I have my paints, sort of laid out. Now, it's obviously not the greatest combination. I don't have little, divots where they can sit independently. But there's enough space in here that allows me to work. And I use the sandwich bag at nighttime or whenever I put this away to store it. And I would say I get a couple days at least before things start to dry out. So at least it holds me over, especially when I know who I'm painting or which miniatures I'm going to paint, and there's maybe a logical order in which I do it. So this has been helpful. So I don't think it's necessary to go out and buy those special ones. I mean, you can. But for me, this has worked, and it's worked fine, at least to get me through 2 to 3, maybe even up to 5 days without having to waste more paint by redoing all of this. So one of the things I forgot to mention was the priming part. So I remember, sort of when I read this, it says you can airbrush it. So people say that I think the 3 ways that you can do priming is you can paint it on, you can paint the primer on, you can spray it on with an aerosol can, an aerosol can, or you can airbrush it on. I prime my miniatures by hand using this paintbrush, which I talked about. Okay. Is it the best? Probably not. Is it the fastest? Probably not. Does it do its job? It does. And one of the reasons is most of the time that I'm miniature painting, and if you're like me, again, this might apply to you, is I'm usually doing it in the evenings, late in the evenings actually. And so I'm not about to take out an aerosol can and start spraying somewhere in my kitchen. I'm not going to go outside when it's dark outside and fire up my work lights just to paint. And then I'm certainly not going to spend the money for a compressor for an airbrush because I don't think I'm at that level. I think all that is cool. I'm not knocking that at all. It's very cool. I've seen some of their professional stuff. It's like what you take your car to get painted. It's like a booth, and they airbrush the paints and the primers on. I think that's really cool. But no, I take this, I put it on a dry palette, and I just prime. Here's an example of a prime that I did, and this is Taskmaster from my Marvel United. And you can see he's just lightly primed. My first round with, I started with my Space Marine adventures. Those were my test subjects because I didn't care about those miniatures. But when I was priming, I thought that it had to be completely covered. Like, in other words, for this Taskmaster, you should see absolutely no red on his body or wherever you intend on painting. You'll notice I don't paint the base just because I don't know, it's just me. So when I did the Space Marines, I realized that the first coat of primer didn't really, it was a little bit translucent like this. So I did a second coat. That was a little bit better. Then I did a third coat. I did 4 coats of priming so that it would be completely gray with no sign of the plastic behind it. And I thought that's how you have to do it. I was wrong. Honestly, for me, you just prime it, and at most for me was two, and it was very liberal and just quickly getting it through so that there's some surface, I guess, roughness that the primer provides for the paint that you're going to use to adhere to it. Without the paint, without the primer, the I guess the waxiness or the plastic smoothness doesn't give a surface that's conducive for paint to adhere to. So that's what it is, and that's what I do. And I just brush it on. I brush it on, and I would do a bunch of miniatures at a time, and I just let them sit out to dry, and then the next day I'd start working on them. So that's sort of my approach to the priming part. So I got that covered with the brushes. I've got my wet palette. I've got my brushes here. Another piece that I thought was important was a holder, and I think there's probably a lot of DIYs out there that say, "Oh, you should, just get I don't know, the top of a plastic bottle, put some sticky tack on it." Yeah, I could, but no. So I ended up getting this. What is this? This is a Citadel color handle, painting handle. This is the small one. It opens up so that you're able to, especially with the sizes of my miniatures, you're able to sort of snap them into place. Okay. And then you can hold them quite well. And it is comfortable. I have to admit, this is quite comfortable. There are a lot of times I'm thinking, oh, I hold it like this and I'm painting, but there'll be times where I'm actually holding it like this to get in certain grooves, right? To get inside certain areas. And I actually will be holding it, the miniature in various angles. Sorry, the camera's having trouble focusing. In order to get the painting done. So this worked well for me, and I think this was well worth it. I can't imagine holding a cork. Maybe it would be the same. Maybe a large cork might work, but this has been fine for me. And at the same time, because I know I have some larger miniatures, I ended up getting the extra large, which is for the larger bases. And that would be good for if and when I get to my Crisis Protocol miniatures, because I do have a few that have a very large base, definitely larger than what would be able to fit in here. So for me, I don't think this is mandatory. I think this is more about preference. This is for me because, oh sure, I think not to say I'm professional or whatever, but I think there's like other contraptions that you can lean your hand on and you can like hold your hand steady as you paint. No, that's too much for me. This was a good balance at a price point which I feel was fair. But by all means, if you want to use a cork or the top of a water bottle and put some sticky tack on it, that works too. But for sure, this holds it in place and holds it well, and it's easy to put in and out. Another piece to go along with the priming. So I got the prime, I got the paint. I talked a bit about the wash, which I'll talk more in my next video. I also have a varnish. A finish. I don't know what this is called. So this is, I don't know, there seems to be so many terms. I feel like you have a varnish, a seal, or a finish. And this is the final coat that you would typically put on a miniature. And from what I understand, if you are a miniature painter that, you go into competitions, then you typically would, like your miniatures that you're painting are more like collectors. They're behind glass. But if you're painting them to play with, then they recommend that you put some kind of finish on it because you don't want any grease from your fingers, or for goodness sake, if you spilled your drink, which by the way, you shouldn't have drinks at the board gaming table. If you actually accidentally spilt it and water got on, it could potentially ruin your paint job. So this one is a satin varnish. You have a matte varnish and a gloss varnish as well. And for me, based on what I understand, the matte one is good, but it may take away from some of the vibrancy of the painting. The gloss one might give it a shine that you don't want because it might, I don't know, from what I read, take away from your other hard work of highlighting. And then the satin is sort of the best of both worlds. So I went with satin, and I've been fine with it. I find that this is also, just like a wash, this is also very key because I found that after I paint my miniatures, before I apply a finish, I can feel the surface is a little rough. You can feel it. It's like, I don't want to say it's like sandpaper. There's just texture. But after you apply the satin varnish, it's smooth. And you feel like, oh, it has like a protective coating. The same kind of coating that you would put on a car, right? You put on a thin layer of clear coat to protect your finish so that you're not if anything gets damaged, it's the clear coat that gets damaged. So for me, this was also, and I didn't buy a large bottle because first of all, I couldn't find a large bottle. So this one is okay for now. And I typically just do one thin coat. I think you could put several for extra protection, but for me, I'm careful with my miniatures to begin with, so that's not a problem. The other part I'll talk about is my poor eyesight. So if you're like me, I'm definitely not, my vision's not that great. Even though I don't wear glasses, miniature painting, I bought this even before I started miniature painting because I knew there's no way I'll be able to see. And strangely enough, I don't even have the equipment to show you really closely and paint like this. I don't have the type of gear, so I can't show you what it looks like, and I certainly can't show you what it looks like through here. But I got this off Amazon. It's battery powered because it has a light, and you wear it over your head. Now, I had a couple options. I could have bought the one that's sort of it's sort of like a magnifying glass that sits on your table, and it's like has a light. There's a light around the perimeter, and so it illuminates as you're working. But I thought that, and it, keeps both hands free. But I thought I'm not. I don't know if I knock it, is it, maybe I want to move my head as opposed to try to, navigate around this dish that's sitting on top of it. So I decided to get this instead, and it comes with one, two, three, four, five levels of magnification, which is in here. And so you get these 5 sort of clip-on magnification lenses, I guess if you want to call it that, to snap into place of this wearable headset. And I think this is not necessarily just for miniature painting, but any type of hobby where you need to maybe sewing or needling or whatever you want to call it. So this snaps into here like this, like so. Okay. Okay, you can see already, you can see the magnification here. Maybe I can turn it around. Maybe you guys can see it a little bit better here. If I, right there. Right there. And it has battery power because there is a light switch for illuminating, which has actually been very helpful. So I can wear this, and there are some reviews that say it is top heavy on your nose. So yes, if you're going to be painting for, I don't know, 8 hours straight, this will eventually, you will feel it on your nose bridge. But I paint maybe at 2 hours at a time at most. And I'm fine with it. And it is relatively comfortable. It doesn't pinch my nose or pinch my ears. And so for me, this actually has been critical. I think without this, I would not be painting. There's no way. I can't see the details. And more importantly is when you're doing the fine details. So for example, if I did Taskmaster's head, no problem. It's a wide surface, no problem. His shield, not too bad. Definitely his sword, no problem. His cape, no problem. But if you look really closely, his belt buckle and the buckle on his, I guess, body cross sling or whatever he's wearing, even the side of his belt, there's a little pouch of some kind. That would require me to wear this to be able to do it properly with the smallest brush head that I have, and get it right, I guess. So I guess the easiest way for me to show you is one that I have done. Now, by the time I'm filming this, I got through all my Space Marines, which were fine. They were smaller than my Marvel United, but I've been working through my Marvel United ones. And so, for example, here's my Iron Man. Here's my Iron Man. Okay. Now, so things like his arc reactor, I don't know if you can see it, but his arc reactor, getting without my magnification or my glasses, it would be tough. Even the small parts underneath his arm to highlight, and even his eyes, quite challenging. So you'll see, I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy with this. Did it turn out exactly the way I imagined it? Not really. I feel like the bottom part where he's sort of blasting off, the color didn't work out the way I thought it would be, and that's okay. I'm okay with it. But I'm very happy. There's a metallic, I used a metallic gold that came with the Flashpoint set, and I used that to highlight some of his armor points. The red, I used the base red. I didn't mix to make it a little darker, and the wash gave it sort of a darkness and highlighted some of the crevices. But I'll talk more about this in my next video. But I just wanted to show you that the reason for having the sort of the magnification glasses or something to magnify. You don't, if you don't want to wear it, that's fine. But for me, I found this invaluable. Out of this whole point, I thought obviously you need the paints, you need the primer. The satin finish for me was key. I don't think I need all the paintbrushes, but because the ones I needed came in a set, might as well get it. And then you've got a few extras just in case. And definitely the magnification for me was key. Everything else kind of wasn't 100% necessary, but it, based on the dynamics of my setup, it helped me keep things organized. So that's pretty much, I guess, if you want to call it, the beginner set for me. And is this what you should get? No, you don't have to get the 50 paints if you don't want to. It all depends on the miniatures that you have. You could probably easily get away with the 11 color starter set, not this one, but the one that Army Painter has. Doesn't matter whether it's Army Painter or Vallejo. I don't care. I just got what was available to me, and at the time, and from my local game store. And it, for me, I feel like this is enough. I don't think I'm going to get an airbrush or a compressor for an airbrush. I'm not going to go out and get like 10 different primers. I think with the number of paints that I have, I'm okay with it. I don't think I'll have to get another set or get the larger Fanatic set. Do I need any more brushes? I think these aren't the best brushes because I can tell already that the quality is, it's so-so. It's not terrible, but I probably would have to replace the brushes, oh, maybe after I'm done my Halo set. I don't know. And then for the miniature holder, is it necessary? No. You can easily still hold it with your hand, right? If you're not painting the base yet, you can still get away with it. So for me, as a person who had no previous painting experience, this was sort of the starting equipment to help me get to where I am right now. And again, I'm not saying that I'm a great miniature painter. What I'm saying is I'm happy to bring some color to the miniatures that I have. And on top of that, I find it to be a very therapeutic experience. If you turn on a soundtrack if you wanted to, but for me, I actually work in silence and I'm very focused and I literally tune everything out and I'm very cognizant of what I'm doing and trying to keep a steady hand and try to, I guess, bring life via color to these miniatures. So thanks for watching this. I hope this was somewhat informative, especially if you're where I came from, which is completely new, having no experience and finding some of the online material very overwhelming. I'm going to talk a bit more in my next video about the techniques I hear about and that people talk about, but I think it was just not, I'm just not at that level. So that's the kind of person I am. So maybe you'll find this helpful for you, that you can still, I think, produce good miniature paints or painting without having to go through all the other hoops and techniques that at least I see that's out there. So yeah, come back hopefully in a few weeks, and hopefully I'll have that video posted, and I'll walk you through some of the miniature painting that I've done so far, and depending on how many I get to the next time I do the video. But thank you for watching, and until next time, stay bored.